What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by Major League Success. I have Carol Brindley with me with EXP. She's down in Florida and servicing Ohio. And I'm super excited because we have a funny, interesting journey of how we've connected. I guess this would have been probably 5 years ago, maybe
Yeah,
4 or 5 years ago at this point. But it's crazy, small world and how things happen. And, we met actually on a plane coming back from Fort Lauderdale to Columbus. And,
yeah.
I was down there with Ryan, who is obviously my team lead. And, we were, I forget if it was first failed attempt in Florida or the second failed attempt in Florida, but it was one of the failed attempts. And, we all sat in the same row, right? We all sat
Yeah.
in the same row. And, you were obviously a licensed agent here. And, over the last couple of years, we've been able to build our relationship and get to know each other a little bit better. So, Carol, thanks so much for joining me today, taking time out of your day, of your schedule down there in Florida to jump on here and share your journey to this business.
Thank you for having me, John. It's so good to see your smiling face. And I fondly look back on that moment. I think we had the early flight at 7 a.m. It was like, I didn't want to talk to anybody, but of course I wanted to talk to you guys. And it was so funny. We were like, well, what do you do? Oh, I'm a realtor in Ohio. What? No way. And then all these years later, we find ourselves in the same brokerage, and we have like
Yep.
such a similar values and similar mindsets. And it's such a small world, and it just goes to show that everywhere you go, if you're not talking, you're not open for business, right?
Yeah,
That's the thing.
100%.
And it's all about relationships. It's all about network and building those relationships. It's just such a fun reminder of that.
Yeah, and at the time, you were coming back from looking for a house, right? You guys were
Yeah.
looking to relocate there,
Yeah.
and we were obviously going down there. We had an opportunity to, and again, I forget which time it was, but we had an opportunity, I believe, to help an independent brokerage.
Mhm.
Really try to instill our systems and processes and model and things in place. And I think we were
Mhm.
down there for a week or something at the time, and
Mhm.
it just
Yeah.
didn't end up working out. So it's just funny that here we
It's
are
fun.
again, 4 or 5 years later. You're back in Florida
I'm
because you had
back in
come back
Florida.
from Florida, so now
Yeah.
you're back down there.
I know. I know.
But I'm excited to unpack your story and your journey
Yeah.
because I know a little bit about you, but I don't know everything about you, right?
Okay. Well,
So
you're going to find out.
we all are going to find out, right?
That's
So,
right. The
Carol,
world.
yeah, where we start here on the podcast is we always start from the very beginning, right?
Mhm.
What was life like for you, growing up?
That's a great question. Well, I was born near Akron, Ohio, in Cuyahoga Falls, the birthplace of Chrissy Hines from the Pretenders. And I was there until about the sixth grade, and then I moved to Dublin, Ohio. So as a kid, like all I can remember is I was going to be famous. I was going to be on Broadway or a musician. So all I did was spend time singing and dancing and performing to no one, just for myself because I was practicing. And so moved to Dublin. That's my home. My parents still live there. I would say that, did the traditional, suburban life, always wanted to kind of, explore. I met my first husband in high school. We became gypsies and we traveled the entire United States. We lived in California, Colorado, New Hampshire, Michigan. We lived everywhere. Yellow Springs. I'm kind of a hippie, for sure. And we ended up moving to Colorado and then going back to Ohio and started our family in Ohio. And I said, I don't want to live in Dublin. I want to raise my kids in the city. And it's so funny because I started my family. We were in Clintonville, and then we moved to Bexley, and I became a Bexley girl for raising kids there, loving that life. 10 years in Bexley. Then we ended up moving, met my second husband, moved to Florida, came back, said, I don't want to do anything but I want to live in Dublin. I was so like, my whole mindset had changed. I
Yeah.
want to be close to family. I want my kids to go to the same high school as me. I got 2 kids now. One's just a sophomore in OSU. The other is a senior in high school down here in Florida. And so fast forward, we had COVID. I was right down the street from my parents. I was dropping off groceries to their front door.
Yeah.
And then moved back to Florida with this new opportunity. A client I had when I was down in Florida the first time, a commercial client, became a great friend, sold his business, said, I want you to come and start this business with me. We're building homes in Florida and elsewhere around the world. So let's do it. And I said, all right, where do I sign? And now I'm here. Have our own company. I'm still, I'm brokered in Ohio and in Florida, and soon to be North Carolina.
No, that's awesome.
That's a
That's
long
awesome. I gotta,
answer. Mm-hmm.
no, I gotta go back. What was it that made you want to get into the performance space growing
Oh,
up? And then did you follow that out of high school and into your early
mm-hmm.
adult life, or are you still doing it?
That's a great question because that is my real passion. My real passion is to kind of just I guess I'm an attention seeker. I don't know. I've always thought I would be in acting, and I dabble in it. And especially up in Columbus, I had the opportunity to do Last Realtor Standing,
Yeah.
which was my dream come true. Everybody did not realize what was riding on that. It was like do or die. It was like one of those moments in life where I'm like, if I don't do this, if I don't have the best time doing this, I have failed myself.
Yeah.
And it was such a pivotal moment. If people aren't familiar with it, it's basically an amateur realtor is paired with a professional comedian, and they duke it out on stage, all, like 4 or 5 realtors, and they try to get like the most votes for the last realtor standing. And I was nearly there. I had such a great success with it, but it's been my dream to just perform in some way or another. And I thought it would be comedy. And so this was such a pivotal moment for me, that everything was riding on it. I felt like if I could do that, I could do anything in the world, that
Yeah.
all the fear that I ever had would disappear. And that's exactly what happened. So now I feel like I could stand in front of anyone. I can perform. I can talk to anyone. It's changed sort of my outlook on life. And so I still do. I've done 2 other plays. I played in a role that they call the scene stealer. It's sort of a comedy part, small parts, nothing major because I don't have the
Sure.
time with my business. And currently down here in Florida, since I live here mostly, I've been looking into joining Toastmasters just to kind of get back into the realm of being in the public. And I would like to do, my goal for this year is to do a moth. If you don't know about the Moth Radio Hour, it is an event that takes place in most major cities around the world. And there is a podcast and an NPR show called the Moth Radio Hour. And my goal is to stand up and tell a 5-minute story. So I want to become a better storyteller, and I want to stay on the stage. But a long story short is what I learned there from my childhood, and then some real life experiences has shaped me into being a
Yeah.
fearless person. It's like, I'm not afraid of anything. And it's such a relief to know that I can count on myself and that I don't have to worry or stress about, messing up or failure because it doesn't
Yeah.
exist.
It's so interesting, because as kids, right, like we fail all the time, right? Like I grew up playing
Yeah.
sports, right? Like I
Uh-huh.
was never embarrassed to play sports in front of people. But
Hmm.
sometimes as adults, like we let that fear just get in the way of us even making a decision or, implementing something, doing
Hmm.
something, executing on something, admitting something out loud, right? To the world
Hmm.
of what you want to do. What was it for you at Last Realtor Standing? I mean, was it because you performed in front of your peers? that kind of unlocked everything for you? Or was it because that was, you built up to that moment and then you saw that, no matter what happened, good or bad, it didn't, other people's
Mhm.
opinions, or it really didn't matter in the grand scheme of
Mhm.
things? What was it? Because I think a lot of agents struggle, with that.
Mhm.
And we face a lot of rejection every day in this business. So
Yeah. There's nothing more fearful than going up and being as vulnerable as you can be with your comedy. It's about your real life because you can't do it any other way. You can't make stuff up. So it was sort of the ultimate vulnerability. Um, I guess the moment for me was that first joke that where you do that pause and there's an art form and you wait for the laughter and you kind of people have no choice. Like if you time it right and you've paused and you're looking at them like, come on, throw me a bone here. Like anywhere in life, you could do that. You could pause with your clients, with the difficult conversations, and you can give them a moment back. And it's not just about you, it's about this, it's a two-way street with your wherever you are. And that explosion of laughter, it like it was so euphoric. I felt like, and I don't know if every people do this, but I don't do any drinking or anything otherwise before I go on stage because I want to have that experience because it in itself is so euphoric. So I think life can be that way. I think life could be like if you're having difficult conversations, if you're maybe just purposefully looking for the no's because you can handle it because it's like it strengthens it's like a rush of like, okay, I got what I wanted. Now I can move on to something great.
yeah.
I don't know. It was just such a moment. And other people have done it and they're like, yeah, whatever. I'll just get up there and I'll perform and I don't care, but I really cared. I really cared. So it was a combination of really, really caring and then hearing that explosion of laughter.
It's that thing. It's like it's that confirmation that you can do it, right?
Mhm.
Like sometimes in real estate, it may be, converting that first person over the phone, or,
Mhm.
getting your first client to sign a contract, or
Mhm.
getting that client to the closing table and getting it done. And you get that first, I always tell people that first commission check hits
Oh,
differently, right? Like,
oh,
you know, it just
yeah.
hits differently. It doesn't even matter the size. It
Oh,
just feels
yeah.
different. It hits
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
So
It's so awesome. It's all related.
yeah,
It's all how you show up, you know?
yeah,
And like I have rituals. So, I mean, we could talk about that, but later, but it's all about you being prepared for the day, being prepared and showing up for first yourself and having some self-compassion and even in the vulnerable moments being able to recognize that you're there for you. Like you don't need to rely on anyone else.
yeah.
And I think that is the secret right there. And that's all related to for me to being famous in my own mind, in my own right, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Carol, take me on the journey. Was real estate your first career choice, or if not, take me on the journey of, you know, I know you traveled the country, right?
Mhm.
Early on, and
Mhm.
what was your career path? How
Sure.
did you
Well,
end up getting to the point of saying, "Hey, my next move is going to be I'm going to go get licensed and be a real estate agent."
yeah, that's a interesting story. I for me, I was in college and was a gypsy in college. I would go to whatever college sounded good at the time. Like, oh, we hated weather in Ohio. Let's move to California. And so I went to started college in high school, and then I went to California. Then I went to New Hampshire, and then I did an internship in Colorado, and then I was in Yellow Springs, and then I was in Michigan, and then I was in Ohio for the start and the finish. And my degree was in psychology. I was sure that I should talk to people about, their lives. And I was a good listener and like, especially, and I'm kind of a nutrition freak as well. So like I'm a health nut, I guess. So I talk a lot about my obsession is about food and how it affects your mental health.
Hmm.
And so I thought for sure I would go into nutrition or psychology of nutrition. And right out of college, I got a job working in nutraceuticals, which are vitamins, and I sold them on the phone. I was a salesperson. And I learned everything. I worked for a great company. They were owned by Whole Foods eventually. And I learned everything about nutrition. And then I moved from that. That company went under because it was during the dot-com era. And I guess 2006, I don't know, something like that. Then nope, that's not when. It was way earlier. I always think I'm so much younger than I am. So I went to become a loan officer, and I worked at Beneficial Finance, which is the worst place because they make the worst subprime loans. And I was like charging on first mortgages like 16% when the actual rate was 6%. And I had no idea. I was just like, well, tell me what to do and I'll go sell it. And I sold loans. And I did
Yeah.
change people's lives in positive ways. And I worked for like 8 years as a loan officer. So I know everything about finance, even though it wasn't my favorite thing to do, because what I realized is I needed to be in front of people and perform. So I became a realtor when my second baby was born. So I had one at 2. I had a 2-year-old and I had a 0-year-old. And I went out and got my real estate license. And for the first couple of years, I had a baby on my arm. And I did real estate for my friends and family. And it was just like the perfect mom job. And then I kind of as the kids got older, went to preschool, I started working at a home builder. So now I'm back in home building. So it's interesting. That home builder is now a custom home builder, Maplecraft Custom Homes, Gary Dunn.
Yeah.
He's related to Steve Dunn, who owns Westport, or now D.R. Horton and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned everything I could about custom building. And then I worked for a property manager, and I managed 100 plus single family homes, and I managed the REO business.
Yeah.
And I learned everything about rehabs, and I learned everything about property management. And I loved that. I loved just always being busy. And I'm the kind of person who, if I can't solve a problem, I just do it myself. I know how to do electrical. I know how to do plumbing. I've tried everything. So I think it's kind of like working in any business. You have to try every part of it to really understand for your clients. And then I've done residential real estate mainly. And then when I moved to Florida, the first time I did commercial real estate.
Yeah. It's probably way different down there then.
Well, it was I didn't want to do residential. I wanted to do something different. It's such a different beast in Florida, as you know. And I was just kind of like, I got to learn something new. My need and my lifelong strength is I'm a learner. I'm obsessed with knowledge. I'm obsessed with, bettering myself. That's why I became a broker during COVID. I became a broker in Ohio. And then when I got my license back in Florida, I let the first one lapse. But when I got it again, I became a broker. I went straight for the broker's license. And so I guess that answered the question of what has been my real estate career. I think when I talk to new agents, because I'm also a mentor at EXP, the one thing I tell people is don't concentrate in life on what career you have, but focus on the things about the career that you love. I love selling houses, and personally, I love getting inside and finding out everything I can about homes. I love the transaction. I love the magic that happens when someone finds their dream home or their first home. But really, I love the relationship that I make with the people that I help everywhere I go. And so that's what I focus on every single time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, that's key there, is and that's why I love having people on here that come from different walks of life. They have different journeys. We've all built our business a little bit differently. We all have different areas of the business that we really enjoy,
Hmm.
and that's what this is about, because I believe our failure rate, one of my big main goals, my North Star, right,
Hmm.
is to change the failure rate of our industry, right? Like, why
Yeah.
does it need to be 87% by the end of year two, right? I don't
Yeah.
believe it needs to be that way. I believe
Hmm.
real estate is simple but hard, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I think the simplicity of it is, our job is to have conversations and create opportunities every single day about real estate. Doesn't matter how it
Yeah.
happens. It could be on a plane, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, but the hard part is finding the passion in the way that you want to go and do it and showing up consistently.
Oh yeah. There's a secret to showing up consistently, of course.
Yeah. Now
Uh-huh.
I want to get back to something because I'm curious.
Uh-huh.
Your very first career selling vitamins
Yeah.
over the phone.
Yeah.
Who was your target client? Were you selling business to business, or were you selling business to client
Direct.
like real estate?
It's direct. Yeah, direct sales. So these were customers who had ordered from the catalog. Remember those? Like you'd open the catalog and circle which ones you wanted. So I was mostly working in the demographic of like 50 to 80 years old, and sweet elderly people on the phone. And we would call them, we had a special sales department. We call them, hey, this is Carol. I'm here at Bioenergy Nutrients, and just calling to check in to see if you're low on any of your vitamins because we have a special. It was like kind of cold calling, but warm calling.
Yeah,
These people had
yeah.
ordered before, and they were like, "Oh, thank goodness you called. I'm really running low on my glucosamine and chondroitin. My joints are really acting up." And you'd have these talk about relationship building. You're talking to people who most of the time they're very lonely. They're so happy to hear from someone who also cares about their health, and they're seeing results. And it was just this wonderful, wonderful, gentle sales job. Um, and you get a little commission every time they would order extras. And so it was just, I really loved it. And I learned so much about nutrition. I learned so much about the body and also the psychology of just, you know, of conversation.
Yeah. Well, I was going to
Hmm.
ask you because when I have agents on here, there's usually always something, whether it's a career
Hmm.
or a decision that that has this profound impact on their real estate business. And I was going to
Hmm.
ask you,
Hmm.
first, to sell vitamins over the phone probably has to be a challenge. So if you could do that, you could probably sell real estate, right? Like,
Yeah.
not
Hmm.
everyone needs vitamins, right? Most
Right.
people need a place to live. What
Yeah.
was one thing that you took away from that experience that may have impacted or have an impact on your real estate business?
I would say the one thing is, in general, it's about the numbers. It's about quantity. You're reaching out. You're picking up the phone. If, like, again, I say all the time, if you're not moving your mouth, you're closed for business. And when you have a job where you're on an auto dialer, and I've done that in real estate as well, you have no choice but to speak when someone talks to you. And it's just about not being afraid to have conversations. And everybody, not being ashamed of wanting to help someone. There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
And I think, like, some people, they weren't really into their vitamins, so they wouldn't order. But most people, like you said, everybody needs a house, everybody needs a place to live. You can have a conversation with anyone in the world. Vitamins is a different story, so it was like it's on a different level. So I think it's just about those conversations and not being afraid to ask people.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's just interesting because, like, I can only imagine, at that time, right? It's not like, people have the internet at their fingertips. I mean, there was, but not to what it
Mhm.
is today,
No,
right?
no.
And the research and all those things, and just selling a product that way, I just find it
Mhm.
interesting. And so then you move into the lending world.
Mhm.
You do that for a little bit. What year
Mm.
did you decide to go and get your real estate license?
It was 2006. That was the year my daughter was born. And so how many years is that? 18? I don't know. 17 or
Sounds
18
about
years. That's
17.
about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did lending for a long time, and I liked it okay. It was fun, but the thing I always hated is I could never meet them in person. And I am an in-person person. Had we had Zoom back then and all of the ways to talk, it would have been a different story.
Yeah.
I just got bored with my energy requires communication. It requires connection with human bodies. And I mean, the best thing that came from COVID is everybody does a video chat now. All the meetings I have are video. So it's been, the connection my need has been met from that.
Now, when you dove into the real estate side, obviously 2006, it's right before the crash, all of those things. Like, did you have supporters, doubters? I mean,
Mhm.
making that career, obviously you were in sales along the way, right? Then
Mhm.
you were in the real estate space beforehand, but now you're kind of pivoting to the other side of real estate, right?
Yeah.
Did you have supporters, doubters when you made that decision?
Supporters, yes. My husband of the time was definitely for it. And I would say my family, for the most part, I do have one family member who I remember um, they said to me, "You went to school for psychology. Why are you only?" I think they used the word only a realtor. And I said, "Oh my gosh, what do you mean only? Like I do more than any of you." And then I felt like when that happens, my instinct in life is to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
I think the doubters are the ones that really get me going. Like that's a trigger. And I was like, well, I'm going to set out to show them that I can be
Yeah.
better than them in ways of success. And however you measure it. But who's happier? It's me. It's me.
Yeah.
I'm happier. And I'm going to make sure that number one, that the measurement of success is that my happiness is everything. So yeah, for sure. You have people who are like, oh, you're wasting your degree. No way. No
Well,
way. And my
at
degree
least
is
your
perfect.
degree translates. Yeah.
Yeah. I could have been in computer science or yeah, well, that would have translated well too. But yeah, there's so many
Yeah.
things I could
You
have
could have been
wasted.
sports management like me, like that,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Great example.
I think it's important, because there's a lot of people, again, real estate, it's like it's not usually someone's first career choice. It's their second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, down the line, they just
Mhm,
land to it. And,
mhm,
a lot of times, it's the people around us. And I talk to agents about this all the time. You have to continue to audit your circle, no matter where you're at in your career, because you got to keep growing, right? You said you're a consistent learner. And I think that's a big thing in this
mhm,
industry, but also that group that's around you,
mhm,
like, are you someone that needs more supporters, or are you someone that's going to lean on those doubters to prove them wrong, and that's going to be the
mhm,
energy and the fuel that you're going to take to run and
mhm,
go and do it. Like, you got to find what that is, but you also have to
mhm.
be okay with making your decision that this is the right move for you.
Yeah, yeah. I've always had an easy time just diving in um, ever since the comedy. Like I just dive in. I just go for it because every time I worry about anything, it turns out totally different. So what's the
Yeah.
point of making stuff up? Why not just
Yeah.
live and let live?
Yeah. So lead me through that path, because I know you
Mm,
mentioned, you worked with a builder, right? You're
mhm,
an agent, worked with a
mhm.
builder, you worked with property management. What made you want to move around to different parts of the real estate industry?
I think partly it was just right place and right time. And I think it's always has to do with relationships and just like gut instinct. And for me, definitely about for me to be a great, just for me to do my best, I have to know everything about every part of it. I got to know how the house is built. I got to know how the inspectors work. I need to know how if someone if there's a REO, I need to understand that process. I need to know short sales. I just can't get enough. I need to know. Now I work in green building, so I need to know everything about green building. I'm doing a huge deep dive. We're going to conferences. We're learning at the current time. So I guess it's just that's just how I'm built.
Yeah.
I have to know everything.
So you end up going through that journey. You're still
Mm-hmm.
licensed this whole time, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
never,
Yeah,
what
always
was that
listening.
business? What was that business, path like for you? What was, how did you focus on building your real estate career? Was it internet leads? Was it through your sphere of influence? What was your,
Mm-hmm.
what was your strategy with that?
Well, it took me several years to come up with a strategy, I'll be honest. I think once I started getting organized and, looking at my, organizing my sphere of influence, getting a CRM, that would be the first thing anyone needs to do. Come on. Like we have KB Core and EXP, and that is a life changer. Before that, I bought my own
Yeah.
system. And of course, learning what you're good at, learning, deciding if you have the capacity to touch your clients in your sphere. If you don't, you got to hire somebody to do that. Because number one, it's about relationship building, staying in touch with people, reaching out, giving them value, and organizing yourself. So I think like halfway through my career, and I finally got organized. That's when things started getting serious. And it's just treating your business like a business. And so it kind of like, I was so busy gathering all this data, but what I needed to do was just focus on the basics. And sometimes I skip ahead and get kind of hyper. So I finally got the basics down. And I ended up hiring, through your advice and through your assistance, the virtual assistant.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, I mean, I don't use her anymore because I changed course with our
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
business down here. But that was amazing to have someone do all of the tasks that I had no time to do while still
Yeah.
being able to service my clients. So it's just about, I don't know if I answered your question or for others.
Well, you brought an interesting point up. You said it took a while for you to get organized. What clicked for you? Because I think, look, they don't
Mm,
teach us business and they don't teach
mm,
us how to go in and get clients in school, right? Like that's
right.
why, if you want to break it down, that's why agents fail in this industry is
Oh,
because
yeah.
they don't have a sales background, they don't have a marketing background, they don't have, a business background. They don't typically know much about real estate, right? But
Mhm.
what clicked for you to one, get organized, and two, you said get the basics.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think if there was a moment in time, if it was like all of a sudden, because other area, I think it was a more gradual thing. I mean, I go to every single Ohio Realtors convention. I'm a Leadership Academy graduate. I've been to Ninja. I've done Bold twice in KW. I've done it all. I'm so like, I just can't get enough. And I guess all of the systems together equaled, okay, everybody's saying the same thing. Get a schedule, get a CRM, touch your clients. You hear it enough times and you're going to start believing it, you know? So everywhere you look, it's the same formula. And we talk about it, we've talked about it in Clubhouse. I've heard people talk about it in all places. It's having your systems in place. And to be quite honest, there have been moments where my husband has lost his job. And there's nothing more motivating than, oh, I have to make more income. How am I going to do it? When you're forced to make
Yeah.
a decision to feed your family, you're going to start putting systems in place. You're going
Yeah.
to start listening to all of the knowledge, all of the training you've had, and you're going to make a change because you've got to feed your family. So that's super motivating. And anytime in the past we've had hardship, I say, okay, I'll just go out and I'll sell more real estate. I know just what to do, whether or not I want to do it, because I like doing other things as well. But you have to do what you have to do. So what I find is you make as much as you need or more.
Mm.
If you put
Mhm.
if you listen and you do all the things that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, you're like me, right? Like the continuous learner going to the events. And I always tell people, like, you may have heard this 7 times already, but it
Hmm.
might land differently next time.
Uh-huh. It
Right? So,
does.
like, you got to keep putting yourself into the rooms. You got to keep, I know how to go out and get for sale by owners,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But it may be a different conference or a different room or delivered a different way before it actually
Hmm.
clicks. So that's something that I want to take on and that I want to do, because it's not, real estate's not anything confusing or
Hmm.
difficult or hard, right?
Hmm.
What works in Florida works in Ohio, which works in Canada, which works in Mexico and everywhere else in between.
Hmm.
But you have to keep putting yourself in those positions because those trainings may just land, even though it's the same thing, just different ways of being delivered to
Hmm.
you. It
Hmm.
just may land differently, and
That's
maybe that's what you
true.
need, right? If you're
Yeah.
struggling right now.
Yeah, you just need, I mean, part of my ritual is to read something that inspires me every day. Um, Even if it's 10 minutes, just to kind of keep my mindset going. Like, and I have a mindfulness practice, and there's things I do during the day that always connect with a greater picture. Because you can get stuck in this like mundane, like, oh, grind, I've got to do this.
Hmm.
And it becomes a chore. Your every day of your life should be, you should be excited to be alive, and to remind yourself of what you're working towards.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not perfect. I had a real crap day yesterday. I was not myself. I was a hot mess, but I made it through, and it was interesting. I didn't let it get me down. But I was probably in a very, I broke down on the highway. I was in a very dangerous situation. I was probably in the worst part of town in Fort Lauderdale, and I made it through. I called myself an Uber. I did not worry.
Carol, I want to kind of pivot a little bit, talk about kind of what you're currently doing
Yeah.
and, kind of what the future looks like of your plans, in the real estate space. Um, what is something that you're really looking to accomplish? I know you have, you're developing, properties now. What's something that you're really looking to accomplish over the next 12 months?
Okay. So next 12 months, I'm growing a business. Our business is, uh, it doesn't have to be that complicated, but we are building a different product. We are building homes, residential homes, that are, for lack of a better word, they're energy efficient. They're also passive homes. Passive house designation is a German company, it's a German organization. These are airtight homes that are, take 1/16 of the energy to run. So
Hmm.
if your electric bill in Florida, it's all electric. If your electric bill was $400 a month, it'll now be $40 a
Hmm.
month to run a house. So energy efficient. They're also super strong and safe homes. So if you put them in a hurricane zone, there's nothing gonna knock them down. They're also super healthy because they have no no product that would be harmful for, hypoallergenic, no asbestos, no, I didn't realize this. I didn't realize until I came down here that drywall has asbestos. So these are different product. This is a different product. We're building one house. It's kind of like all we do is learn and build on this one property up in Boynton Beach. It was on the market for 3.25 million. We're still finishing it, so it hasn't sold yet. But we are. So that's my little marketing spiel. Contacting me for more information on that one. But in the meantime, we're using the same skills that we've learned about healthy homes, and we're applying it to flips in South
Hmm.
Florida. And we have a couple of clients we're consulting with in North Carolina about this particular type of building. And we're hoping to kind of sell the consultation side of the business.
Hmm.
And in addition to that, we've designed and we're developing geothermal pools. So swimming pools that are heat and regulated with, heat and cooling regulated and energy efficient as well. So there's so many things we're doing in Florida and now beyond. And then I'm still kind of consulting, and I'm a mentor, and I help. I give a lot of referrals when I get a conventional client, so that's something to keep in mind as well. So it's about building those relationships, and I work with a team. I have a structural engineer, a general contractor, a mastermind. My mentor is my business partner. He's been he's bought and sold businesses, multi-millions of dollars over and over and over. So I'm in the exact right place with the exact right mentor and partner I could be in. So I'm very fortunate. And I get I can literally walk to the ocean every morning and have a morning meditation and get back to my office by 9. And it's a treat. I feel like I'm on this amazing journey.
No, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys looking to accomplish with everything in the next 5 years?
Well, I think in the next 5 years, we will have built up a business of either building or consulting for homes that are considered net zero or passive. That we have several projects going, and all of our systems are in place. And we have I'm managing several teams, and we're working across multi-states, and maybe I can make it to North Carolina as my residence because I love it there. I feel like that's my soul is up in the mountains. So I could see that for us in 5 years. Maybe we're building a new business because we've built this business up and we've sold it. And now we're going to do something completely different. But always I'll have a real estate license and I'll be working in that realm, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, I love it. What Carol, what's a legacy goal for you? What's
Oh,
something that you're looking to accomplish when you're no longer here?
I love that question. I do think about that a lot. I mean, in general, I think about if I had to say, I imagine I imagine not being around, what people will say. I just want to at least have made a difference
Mm,
in someone's life, whether that be someone who was starting out in real estate, someone who was, I just want to be that person people think of as making a difference. I mean, the big goal is making a difference for the planet, but we are, I'm sure you've heard of the tipping point. And our company, we are on that journey of like, when is the tipping point going to happen with this type of construction? And
yeah.
it's happening in other countries. When is it going to happen in the US? Maybe being a part of this movement is
Yeah.
sort of like the big goal I have with the company that we started here in Florida.
Yeah, yours is, maybe more energy efficient homes, and I'm changing the failure rate of real estate agents, right?
Yes,
That's
that's
the fun
great.
part. And I
Mhm,
think a lot of agents struggle with that. The
mhm,
reason why I was asked the legacy question last year,
mhm,
and I think agents struggle with, why am I in this business? I think sometimes people get in because it looks easy, right? They
mhm.
want the lifestyle that is portrayed online, but they struggle. It's that thing that's always going to pull you through, and there's a difference
Mhm.
between pulling you through and pushing you through, right? Like
Yeah,
pulling you through, it's going to be dragging you through those hard moments, those tough
yeah,
times.
yeah.
And who knows? I may never get there, right? Like I may never be able to change the way this industry's, but it's the challenge, right? It's
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 the
my North Star.
momentum. Yeah, you're on the journey. And if
I'm
you
on the
yeah,
journey.
you don't have to see it through. I mean, it's all relative in the big picture, sort of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Carol, I got
very
one last
cool.
question for you,
Okay,
and
okay.
I really appreciate your time.
Oh,
Jumping on
yeah,
here and sharing
this
your
is
journey
great.
and what you're doing, and one honestly just to reconnect because it's been a
Mhm.
little while since I saw you. So
Mhm.
But if you could give our audience one piece of advice that maybe you wish you had starting out in your career, or one, your mentor now to agents getting into the
Mhm.
industry, what's that one piece of advice that you always share?
It's going to be like four pieces of advice. Sorry.
I love it.
But the first thing I always say, and if this is the one thing and I have to stop, then I'll say, take care of your body. Take care of yourself first. Do something every day that's for you, because in real estate, you give up so much of who you are. And in life, you give up so much of who you are. But be selfish, be greedy. Start the day doing something for your body. For me, that shows up in um, my ritual. I wake up early. I get an exercise in. I've done something for me. If I can get a mindfulness, if I can do a meditation, that's for me. No one else can have that. And then I have more to give. So that would be the one
Hmm.
thing. And then also get your CRMs in place, hire a virtual assistant, figure out soon like what you like to do, what you don't like to do, focus on what you like. If you're good at being in front of people, be in front of people, let somebody else do all the paperwork. But okay, my one piece of advice is take care of your body first. You're number one. How's that?
I think I like it. I think a lot of us, we struggle with that, right? We think
Yeah.
that we always have to be on, we always
Mhm.
have to serve, we always have to do for our clients. And it took me a long time to get to that point. And I think the reason why a lot of agents potentially struggle with that is because they don't build their business up enough to
Mhm.
put them in a decision, to put them in a position to be able to make decisions on who they work with, right?
Yeah.
You should work hard and bust your ass to put yourself in the position to decide who you get to work with, and not the clients deciding if they work with you.
Yep. You're in control of your business.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
100%. And you got to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else cares. They're not going to take care of
Yep.
you. Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. That's good.
Car- Carol, thanks so much for joining us today. Those that are watching, if you want to learn more about her projects and the business, if you're a buyer, a seller, whether it's Florida or Ohio, she can service
Mhm.
you. Website and phone number is down below. But Carol, for those that are listening in, what is the best way for someone to contact you? Maybe it's someone interested in what you're building, or an
Yeah.
agent that wants to just pick your brain. They resonate with your story and they want to pick your brain about real estate. What is the best way for someone to connect?
Absolutely. And I would invite anyone. I love having conversations about real estate. Mentoring is my passion. And I would say just send me a text or call me. If you're not a caller, send a text to the number 954-504-5571, and I will answer you, and I would be thrilled.
Awesome. Carol,
Mhm.
thanks again. I loved catching up with you. I loved,
Same.
hearing, what you're doing down there, and,
Mhm.
wishing you all of the success,
You as
moving
well.
forward and on that journey.
Thank you, John. It's been great.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We'll talk here soon.
Take care.